Hello everyone, welcome to yet another video of engineering economics and cost analysis. In this video, we'll be discussing about the types of financing, what is meant by finance and what are the various types of financing available. First, let us see what is the meaning for finance. Finance is the fund required to establish, operate business activities and expand in future. So if you want to start a business, you definitely need a fund and that fund is called as finance. To acquire the fund, we generally we use the funds we have in hand, or we use the funds that we borrow from others. So this any type of money or the fund which we generate in order to develop a business or to do some activities or to expand in future, it is called as finance. Funds are specifically required for various purposes, like to purchase any type of tangible assets like furniture, machinery, buildings, offices. So in order to set up an industry or a factory, starting from buying a land until the final product, you need fund. So you need to purchase many things, so they are called as tangible assets. And also, if you want to register for a patent, if you need to avail a technical experts, or if you want to get a trademark for your product, then these are called as intangible assets, which are invisible, or you can say these are assets that cannot be sold, or it cannot have a resale value. So these assets also need fund in order to obtain it. Apart from these assets mentioned above, other things that require funding are the day-to-day operational activities of a business. Yes, in order to run a business, you need a certain amount to perform the daily process or to carry out daily activities of a business. And this activity will include purchasing raw materials, paying salaries, bills, collecting money from clients, etc. Hence, it is essential to have sufficient amount of money to survive and to grow the business. Now let us see what is the classifications. What are the classifications of a finance? So businesses can raise capital through various sources of funds, which are classified into three categories. So first is based on the period, next based on the ownership, and the final one is based on the generation. So based on the period of getting the finance, it is classified as long-term source of finance, medium-term source of finance, and short-term source of finance. Based on the ownership, the finance can be classified as owner's fund or borrower's fund. And based on the type of generation of a fund, it is known as internal source of generation of fund or external source of generation of fund. So these are the basic outline of the classification of sources of finances. Now let's see each and everything in detail. First, let us see based on the period how the finances are classified. So first one is long-term source of finance. So this long-term fund is utilized for more than 5 years. So if you are obtaining a finance for more than 5 years, then that kind of finance is called as long-term source of finance. So the fund is arranged through preference or through equity shares or through some debentures, and it can be accumulated from the capital market. The next type of finance based on the period is medium term source of finance. These are short term funds that last more than 1 year but less than 5 years. So if you are opting for a finance for 1 to 5 years, within 5 years, then it is called as medium term source of finance. So these source of finance will include borrowing from public deposits, any loan from commercial banks, or any commercial papers. If you acquire any loan from any individuals or from a financial institute, or if you sell anything for lease, that kind of finances will come under the medium term source of finance. And the last one on the based on period is that short term finance. These are funds just required for a year. So if you are opting for a finance for less than 1 year, and these sources of finances are called as short term source of finance. So examples for short term sources of finances are working capital loans from commercial banks or trade credits, etc. Now let's see based on the ownership. So based on the ownership, the sources of finances are classified into two categories. One is owner's fund and the other one is borrowed fund. Owners fund are financed by company's owners. As the name implies, it is owner's fund. So the owner will fund the factory, fund the amount for factory operations. Hence it is also known as owner's capital amount. So if you want to start a business, you need to have a capital investment, and that is called as owner's fund or owner's capital. The capital can be raised by issuing preference shares or retained earnings, if you have any fixed deposits like that, or the savings you have, or the equity shares, etc., are termed as owners fund. And these are for long term capital funds which form a base for owners to obtain the right to control the firm's management and operations. As of course, if you want to start any business, the capital investment plays a predominant role, and that capital investment is not for a short term, it is for a long term. The next type is borrowed fund. As the name implies, borrowed, which means that getting some amount from others. So these are the funds accumulated with the help of borrowing or loan for a particular period of time. So the borrowing can be from any person or from any companies or from any banks. It can be a central bank or a commercial bank, or it can be from government as well. And also these kind of funds can be raised from through any borrowing of any, not only fund but also from any assets also. So these are for a particular period of time. These funds are generated only for a particular period of time, and it is the very most commonly used source of fund. So everyone does not have that much amount of fund to run a company or to start a company. Definitely everyone will go for borrowing the amount or the fund. So it is very popular among the business. So the last type of source of finances based on generation. So this source of income is categorized into two divisions. One is internal source, the other one is external source. So based on how you generate the fund, how you are creating a fund capital, on that basis it is divided into two, and namely it is internal sources of generation of finance and external sources of generation of finance. So the owner generated the fund within the organization means then it is called as internal source. So if a owner or the company person, if he creates or generates a fund within his firm, within his organization means, then it is called as internal source of generation. The best example is selling of assets and retained earnings. Yes, if I want to start a business, if I'm having a property, then I can sell it and get the fund. So the property belongs to me and I am selling my own property to generate a fund. So it is internal source of generation. Also, I have some retained earnings, so I have a savings for my own which I can put forth into the business to start it or to run it or to expand it. So that kind of finance is also internal source of generation. Then what is meant by external source of generation? The fund which is arranged from outside the business. Yes, as the name implies, it is external. If you are generating a finance or if you are obtaining a finance for your business from outside your organization, then it is called as external source of finance generation. For example, issuing an equity share to the public. You are issuing the equity share to the public, and in turn you are getting the amount. So you are getting a finance, or if you are generating a finance from outside your circle, from outside your organization circle. Hence it is called as external source. And also you can opt for debentures, and also you go for getting loan from commercial banks, which is also a borrowed fund as well as an external source of generation. Hence these are the major types of classification of sources of finances, which are based on period, based on the ownership, and based on generation. Hope you guys understood the basic terms of basic meaning of finance, as well as the basic classification of finance. Hope you guys feel it informative. We'll be meeting in the next video with yet another interesting topic. Thank you. Thanks for listening.